From Central Illinois, it's the Sofa King Awesome Show. Rock, metal, 80s, retro. It's not just good, it's Sofa King good. Oh, baby. Listen every Friday wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, even YouTube. And now, Sofa King Awesome. Here are your hosts, Thundersticks, on the Sofa King Awesome Show.
Welcome, everyone, to another amazing episode of the Sofa King Awesome Show. Actually, Chug Life Podcast.
Wow, it's
What's
a
up?
takeover, bitch.
I'm Thundersticks for all his viewers, and you are
My name is Michael Vega.
of the Chug Life Podcast. Thank you for having me and coming down.
Dude, it's awesome. I mean, it was beautiful coming here.
Thank you.
Like, it's awesome spot.
Thank you,
and
sir.
it's an awesome drive. God.
It's not too bad.
The weather today was just like, it literally felt like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you had these, like, portions of the sky that were just, like, opened. And it was just, like, a lot of clouds. But there was sun directly over it. So you just have this huge halo-like thing of just,
chilling.
like, there's just almost sun, like, every, like, I guess, mile or so. And then there would be,
Right.
like, darkness and then sun. And then just, it was really wild. Like, almost like a rainbow.
Right, yeah. I do
So to
I do
speak,
enjoy the
like-
sunset coming because it's pretty just chill on the way there and way back or whatever way, so.
It's like, man, I need to come out
You get to
this way
enjoy it
more.
on your way back,
Jesus.
too. It'll still be daylight, So,
It's nice.
well, since I'm on your show, we will let you have the wheel, my friend.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm really excited to do this, man. Because when you asked me to do the takeover, I was like, that's a great idea, but how are we gonna do this?
easy.
And immediately, you were just like, dude, just come over. And like, when do you want to come over? And I was like, and well, here we are. So anyways, so we're talking about Brooke today. And, the big thing that we do in the Chug Life podcast and just the new thing that we're doing this season is just find out more about people in the community that,
Doing
help
the things
build.
behind the
And yeah, they're in the scene and behind the scenes.
right,
Most folks don't necessarily know about these kind of folks
right,
because they're usually focused on the artists and they're usually focused on the forefront, like going to shows and participating in events.
right.
And although we participate in events, we're more usually in the background and in the shadow of all
right.
the works.
Standing there.
So
like, yes.
yeah, and sometimes
Yes.
not even there. There's very, very many cases where I've done shows and I've not been there. Like it just happens. That's just how life
Oh, yeah.
is. And most booking agents that I know, that's usually how it works.
Right.
They have
As
a
much
point
as
of
you'd love to be
contact
at every
elsewhere.
single one of them.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
still have
And,
to. Still have a job to do.
So today we're going to be doing episode 3 of the Chug Life podcast, but this is also going to be mixed in with a great little thing called the So Fucking Awesome Show.
So
And
that's right, baby.
well, so learning about Brooke, what do you do? Tell us a little bit about, just give us a summary
Of
if
who
you
I
could,
am.
of what you do on a daily basis.
Well, so I am a multi-business owner. So my normal 9 to 5 is the construction company that I own. So take that as what you will. I mean, bathroom remodels to everything, windows,
Oh, yeah.
fitting, So that's my 9 to 5. I do a lot of construction, and then just depends on how busy the podcast or editing or filming music videos is, like, today I got to be in Peoria by 3, so my normal working for yourself, like, hey, today's a half day, and then we got to go to, so that's the luxury of being able to work for yourself, is I can work around
Absolutely.
any schedule to make money. But I'm like, I even talked with Darker Than Fiction yesterday. It's not about the money when you're sitting here and you literally enjoy every second of what you're making. You know, you're making art right now. You know, the person that makes the music videos and films them, you know. But just coming from who I am, the construction driven, you know, I'm very music's been my life since forever, dude. I'm 38, man.
What was the first band that sparked it?
Oh man, I don't know if any of them remember this, but we mean like what first band I was in?
Just no, first band that sparked your
it was
interest.
Black Sabbath. I mean, one of the first
Black Sabbath.
Oh yeah, first album.
Nice.
But that was like the first band I really clung to was Black Sabbath. Now, Christmas, like when I got my first radio and cassette and stuff, it was no bullshit, that Scatman song. Be-ba-ba-ba-da-bo. I'm the Scatman. Dude,
Nice.
like that is a total vibe song. But it's not metal at all. So it was like these compilations of like, you know, like Tina Turner, Paula Abdul, Scatman, you know, a bunch of like 80s stuff. You know, so I was born in 85, so I'm coming into like 1990, you know, of growing up listening to whatever my parents were listening to. So at that time, my dad was like a big Kiss fan. So that's where a lot of rocks he clung to, you know, from his childhood. So it was Kiss, but it was Prince, and it was Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? And he was really big into roller skating, you know, and it was like this whole like 70s vibe coming in, you know, like, and so like I was like, dude, this motherfucker's dope, man, you know. And I'm like, I was really clung to what, you know, my dad and my mom listened to. Like my mom had, I vividly remember this, but it's a Cinderella, like either like, I think it's a world tour shirt, you know, and I'm like, yes, that is just like, and I'd wear it to school, and I'm like, that's fucking amazing. But, and then when I went to my first local show, man, it was just like 14, you know, in a building, like you could walk, it's just a basement, you know, or, you know, like right off the street, brick building, and it's just like, what? And everybody's just throwing down, so intimate, you know. I fell in love with that live show. And then my first national act, like shortly after that, was Incubus. And so it was like, it was top notch, you know.
Nice.
But it was like going from being the interactive.
No better first band.
But
big band to see, too.
I grew big up into like being in the mosh pits. So in the local scene, you could definitely find me in the mosh pit, dude. I mean,
Hard
they were
fucking life
so
in there, dude.
fun. So much fun, dude.
And
I'm a lot, man. It's so, you know, but who I am is just someone who is just music driven. You know, I attempt to write
so
music.
what do you do within the industry now?
Okay, so now that I'm able to do and have like adult money and be able to record drums and do whatever. So I try to, hey, anybody looking for a drummer? So I'll try to be a drummer somewhere or someone who needs a song, you know, so session drummer, touring drummer, whatever. It has been hit and miss, which is fine. You know, it happens, but I'm also really not like super set on doing that, you know, like how far can I stretch my time?
It's just one of the hobbies.
Exactly. I have many of them.
Yep.
But I try to book shows, you know, good bands, good national acts, the podcast, all the connections with the businesses that I talk to on here, you know. I try to incorporate in the show, like Leo's Pizza was brought for DTF yesterday, Darker Than Fiction, and they're always getting a shout out on the show. You know, they happen to be the only sponsors that are open on Sunday when I shoot a main majority of my podcast. But
nice.
You know, there's another barbecue restaurant, there's photography, there's a bakery, there's so many sponsors that, you know, they get these special shout outs. There's Pizza Records. It's a record shop. KJB's, who's hosting my Sofa King Awesome show, or Sofa King Fest. So
We definitely are going to be talking about that.
I want to be the next Warped Tour, baby.
Dude, I have the same dreams.
Dude,
so
it takes,
it takes a village, bro. So, you know, and that's...
I got big dreams, bro. I got big dreams, baby. Like, and I try to follow my own, you know. It's just, you know, work gets a lot. You know, I also own a peanut butter and jelly company, which is still on the ground. I've had a couple pre-sales, you know, and it went really well. And I've introduced like 5 different jams and 2 different peanut butters, you know. So it's been dope. My buddy, you know, Paul Wilby.
Yes.
He was one of the first ones here to try it, right? Like, as soon as he got done, he was coming here. I think they buy a drum set from me. I was like, hey, I got a spare one. I'll sell you for like a couple $100,
about
dude.
right.
And he
Paul's
came here,
wild,
I was
man.
like, bro, I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, try this peanut butter. I'm like, you're the first one here. Why not? And like, we did like a little live reaction thing, dude. And, you know?
Fuck yeah,
So
dude.
it was like dope, so that experience was shared with him. I had never tried it, so it was we both were trying at the same time. So that was cool.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, Paul's he's an awesome dude.
Right.
He's a fucking good time.
Yeah.
Good fucking time. So you have this festival that you're creating.
Yeah.
And, obviously a lot of the love that you had for music ended up
Growing up.
just having all of these things come out of it. And not only was it a podcast, but you also got a festival.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing shows on top of having this festival.
So
Right.
also this is where I feel like you can't waste time. Like I'm not saying I like to waste time. I just feel like everybody can be so productive in the time that they're doing things that each band that I have on here, okay, hey, I'm going to do a part 2. You want to be down? So this festival just happened to be all the bands that were roughly on the first 2 seasons, of the show leading up to the 3rd season. And we had a few bands drop off, and it happens in exchange. So now we're like there. So now we can take off we can have a 2-day festival now, with as many bands to be on here.
Yeah.
Almost every other Sunday, pretty much, I have 3 bands that shoot all day. 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, or 7 to 9.
Nice.
Yep. And I'm not saying it's limited to those 2 hours, but I try to make 2 hours. I'm about to have to make it 3 just because of the chill time and everybody's so dope. You know what I mean? That we do a lot of pre-gaming, just chilling, smoking, vibing, like we chilled and dabbed, and shit like that. And it just it's just a lot of stuff,
So in regards to your festival, that probably had a lot of influence.
So yeah, I felt like it just goes hand in hand. So the bands that you talk to, I'm like, hey, you want to put this on? We'll do the show, find a venue, find a sounding guy,
Exactly.
and just bam, done.
Yeah.
So the camera and stuff. I feel like it goes hand in hand. So I got a good camera. It came from a studio and stuff like that, and we did music videos and a lot for the scene there. And I felt like it goes hand in hand. Podcast goes hand in hand with the bands. Hey, might as well do a festival. You're all cool. Let's do it. Dope. And that's a cool scenario to do. All the bands you have on a certain season, have them play a fucking festival together.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely.
And then I have a camera that I shoot this podcast with is amazing. Might as well do music videos when I'm coming to see your shows. I might as well film that bitch and then make live music videos. Might as well,
Are
right?
you getting it from the soundboard?
You can't. So I make the bands do that. It's a preferred thing. So if they have a single coming out or whatever, we collab on either we can do footage from that whole show. So you need to be fucking top notch and act your best and fucking throw down, because you're either making 1 or 2 music videos out of your whole set collectively, but mainly the juice of that song is going to be your song. That's the main track that's on there. Yeah. And then there's going to be obviously B-roll of you jamming out or tuning or setting up, whatever, in between 1 to 2 songs.
For the crowd.
Yeah, the crowd too. Yep, So I feel like a lot of things just go hand in hand with the time that you're doing it. So
You got to really make use of your time.
yeah, dude, I do.
Yeah.
Man, I got
That sounds like something you're pretty used to.
ADHD, baby.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you have as many endeavors as you do, is it easy for you to switch back and forth between what you're doing and
With the
when you're
hobbies and
doing
everything? I mean, yes and no. So, obviously, with the ADHD, some things are like out of sight, out of mind. So, like, out of mind right now is the peanut butter company. Like, the podcast is booming. You know what I mean? And there's bands. Shit, dude. I'm shooting Pale Fest, in October, and shooting Kissing Candace, and I'm shooting The Bunny the Bear again. I'm shooting, Darker Than Fiction. There's just so many things that are happening so quick because I'm just putting out my content out there. I'm also doing this shit for free, certain things, certain bands, hey, I'll come shoot your set. here's my live video to you. Tell me what you think. And they're like, dude, it's amazing. And I'm like, cool. Well, you know, if you want another live video, you know, something, hit me up and we'll actually really get into it, you know.
Hell
so,
yeah.
It's a free, you get the free week, you know, the good bands get the freebies, you know.
I mean,
I hate to play favorites, but it is what it is.
I'm
business,
not gonna
baby.
lie. Yeah, when you're doing stuff and you're, you know, so to speak, donating your time,
Right.
'cause it's something I also had a lot of experience with in my scene specifically. I did a lot of shit for free, and I donated my time, and the problem with that became that at some point it just isn't worth it. You're missing out on a lot of things. So when you're diversifying, you have a lot better opportunities to figure out when you're wasting your time.
Right.
And sometimes it can take you a fucking while.
Yeah.
Too long, but hey, you figured it out. Just so happens it took you a hot damn minute, and a lot of shit had happened. And with that being said, what's it like, you know, what's the scene like here in Jacksonville?
So that's hard to say because it's also where I'm stepping in to play a role as when my younger self did. So when I was like 17, dude, 16, 17, 18, we have a pavilion out at Nichols Park. That's where this next show that I'm presenting is at.
Nice.
So and it's enclosed, weather, you know, it's heated air, you know, it's just an enclosed pavilion, but it's fucking huge, right? And you could rent it for $500. So when I'm like, dude, I would save up, my guy. When you're like 17, you know, and like living on your own already, and then just trying to save up an extra $500 to book just because your band wants to play a home show. Well, I did that, dude. You know, I wanted to. I threw barbecues. You know, I still got the old flyers in there. I'll show you, you know, before you leave or something. That it just, I really threw down. I tried to make a scene. And the scene then was amazing because it was all ages. Okay? Now, St. Louis scene, you know, a lot of shit's all ages, and that's great. And I applaud that. But I don't think there's a metal scene that's all ages in Springfield that's, like, decently accommodating for, like, 200 to 300 people. You know what I mean?
There isn't.
And then the pavilion here, you know, there's no alcohol there, so there's, like, no one there. It's just a building that you rent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, cops could just cruise around. Like, even when I was a kid, like, they'd come in and jam out and see what's going on. Of course they're going to show up. You're throwing an event in their town. Like, come cruise through.
Small town shit.
Yeah. So, throw that to small town. No, I don't know. But they just, they do the rounds because you're not supposed to have alcohol in there, and that's why I just stress that. And it's an all-ages event. It's, I want to say it's, like, really for the kids, but, I mean, it's for everybody, man. And also for, like, if you have kids, you know, like, it's for your kids to see your passion. You know what I mean? So my daughter sees that. I've taken her to several shows, dude. And she loves it.
Fuck yeah.
Loves it. And she's almost 8. She'll be 8 in a couple weeks, next month.
That's awesome, dude.
So.
Yeah, it's always a good time going to shows and seeing just a bunch of kids wigging out.
Bro, it was hard
yeah.
We went to Falling in Reverse. She chose our last concert. So it was Falling in Reverse, and it was amazing, dude. I loved it, but it was hard to not, like, I had never seen Falling in Reverse, which is fine to me. I was watching my daughter, dude, just, like, sing their songs.
How do you feel about Falling in Reverse?
They're fine.
Brownie Radke?
I mean, who they are outside the band, you know what I mean, is to each their own. I mean, because it's not going to prevent me from listening to them. Like OTEP went through her drama, goes through her drama, whatever she did, you know. But I'm still going to jam the first 2 albums.
Mm.
You know, I really didn't like anything later than that, so it's cool. It's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not going to prevent... now, that one dude, whoever, Lost Prophets guy, fuck that dude. You know?
Lost Prophets?
Yeah.
What?
You don't know about the Lost Prophets guy?
Remind me.
Oh, I don't want to... He did some bad stuff. You can...
Okay, word. Yeah, I'll check that out for sure.
Yeah. He's like the biggest FU guy in
fuck, dude.
the music community, or at least metal, yeah.
That's wild as fuck, man.
I don't know if I can talk about it. I didn't on my YouTube
like,
show,
for
so
sure.
I didn't want to know.
For sure. No, that's a
I don't
good
think we can
idea.
talk
If
about
it's
it,
that
so,
bad,
yeah.
then yeah, solid.
Yeah.
All right. Listeners, refrain from checking it out.
Yeah.
Just as a general precaution. Refrain from checking that out. Just to save your innocence. You'll never be the same. Okay. If it's that bad to where Brooks is, he's giving me that much leeway. Don't do it. Anyhow, so you go to a lot of live shows. What's been one of your favorite live shows so far?
Oh man, I got a couple. I mean, besides the ones with my daughter, obviously it's heartfelt, so we'll just leave those to the wind. Although it was a cool show. MGK, which is one I went to her with, he did really put on a really good show. I was really amazed. Went in with really low hopes and came out and was
there's a lot of
astonished.
production.
There was.
Shows like that.
I was dude, that's
production.
dope. I was like, he did a lot of cool shit.
Mm-hmm.
Rammstein was a bucket list band of mine that I seen last September. In Chicago at Soldier Field. So that was fucking dope, dude.
Shit,
that was
dude.
fun as fuck. I've seen Slaughter to Prevail in St. Louis recently. And when I was there, I was in the mosh pit. So
oh my god.
But what I didn't know was I just seen it and I have a habit of just seeing a band I like and I just buy the ticket. I'm like, I don't even look at it after that. And I'm like, I just know I'm going. I don't give a fuck. Well, I'm standing there in the pit and I'm like, and it's just Slaughter to Prevail in the background, which usually the headlining band has their background up, I get it. And then I'm like, that's Slaughter to Prevail's drum set. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, I've never been to a show before, a professional show, where it's just the band, just one band, Not like a fucking jam band. I'm talking a metal band, and I'm like, I think it's just Slaughter to Prevail. And I'm like, holy shit. And so for half an hour, Blade soundtrack from 2006 was just playing and pumping up. And then they came out and dude, and it was just Slaughter to Prevail. And it was just the sickest thing for an hour, dude.
Bro.
Yeah, it was a very intimate, cool concert because it was just them.
I mean, they do have, the notoriety and the discography to be able to do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Straight up, listen, if I were to book a band like Thy Art Is Murder and they came out to, wherever in Illinois I told them to come out to, I could have them do literally just an hour and 15-minute set of just whatever fucking set list I ask.
Yeah, and see, it'd be a lot of help too, funding, the next show. I'm not saying not talking about you funding. I'm saying if you really want to take off with it. So I mean, I'm funding all this myself.
Yeah.
I'm hoping
that's
just
the
to
same
get the
way
money
I
back.
did. Yep.
It's gonna cost me in between $4,000 and $5,000 for the show that I'm booking in November for everything. The venue I just told you about that I booked as a kid. So I'm bringing all ages back. That's just I'm trying to build a scene. So the scene here really isn't much because it's 21 and older.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I'm good on that. It needs to be for everybody.
Facts.
And that's what matters. And then I'll stick to my guns with that until I die. I've been booking shows like this for 2 decades, dude.
Hell yeah.
I can sit at a computer screen and send fucking 100,000 emails a day.
Dude, that shit was the hardest for me, man. Just getting
Contact
used
booking.
There'd be some days where it would be a lot easier to do.
They say that. I'm gonna tell you something right now, man. I stopped. I'm saying I stopped doing it. I usually send an email, but then I'll wait 2 or 3 days. If I don't get one back, then it's noon on the second or third day. I call because I know not noon, but maybe 10 a.m. or 2:33. When they just got done and everybody's chilling. So because it's usually a vibe restaurant. Usually
not 2:32, y'all.
Yeah,
all right, not 2:34.
2:33.
All right, 2:33
on the dot.
Okay, on the dot.
And I'm like, hey, is there someone I can talk to about booking a show? And they're like, oh yeah, you can talk to Lisa. And I'm like, is she around? They're like, no. I'm like, just lead
every
with that.
fucking
Just
time.
lead with that.
Every
Anyways, I'm like,
And how many times does that happen, Brooke? All right.
It happens probably about every other, you know, and then they're like, oh, yeah, Lisa's here. Or they're like, hey, here's her number. Or I'm like, hey, just have her give me a call back and see if there's an availability. I just want to see if they book metal. You know, you can ask her that. And then call me back. And they're like, all right, bet. And they usually do that. If you give them an ultimatum, like, hey, just ask her if you guys book metal shows. I just like a yes or no, so I'm not wasting my time. And they're like, all right, cool.
Man.
So I try to make it now. I hate my time being wasted, so I try to make it like, lickety split. I ain't trying to waste no one else's time.
Dude, it's hard because in this area specifically, a lot of what sells specifically, and that's what most of these venues care about, is cover bands.
Yes, so I will touch on that for a hot second. So my friends own venues here, so I do have friends that have venues. You know what I mean? But I also book. I try not to book can't not book on a weekend, you know, like I get that. But my friend, I'm like, hey, can I book your venue? I'm like, I got all these bands. We're going to bring all these people. And they just like, don't hit me back because it just happens to be, they don't want to say no. You know what I mean? But they just won't hit me back. And I'm like, come on, man. Just because it's metal bands and it's all original and it's not whoever and the whoever's, bringing you beer sales. Like, I get it, and I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge thing, especially now, post-COVID.
So
is the main thing.
That's the 21 and older scene. So it is primarily a bar, and then it's all ages until like 9. You know what I mean? So
facts.
So understandable, because that's when
the main
the weirdo drunks would start coming in.
With most venues being bars, I guess,
know.
too. Is because if they're not bar and grills, then you're fucked. If they're
100%.
if they're bar and grill, you can make it all ages.
Now, I did try to book 2 or 3 different venues for the Sofa King Fest, and once I told them, also, one thing, if you're like booking VFWs or Knights of Columbuses or something, here's a little trick. Don't tell them it's just for a metal concert. I mean, if you're like, oh, I'm looking to book a show, like, hey, I'm looking to book a benefit show. You know what I mean? Bam, sells them every time. Use that tip. A life hack.
Funny enough, I have some experience because we actually, we presented to the Knights of Columbus, like their board. We went to their clubhouse and all that shit, like fucking met all of them, like a little party, and then we had the meeting, and I sit in front of them, talked for close to half an hour. Answered questions, I almost pissed my pants. That piece so bad.
Yeah.
Dude, like they liquored us up pretty hard. All right, I'm not gonna lie. Like, dude just looks at me. We walk in. He's like, "Hey, glad to have you, man. Get whatever you'd like. Take a seat. We're gonna start in like 15 minutes." And I remember looking at Zach because he's my partner. He and I went together. And I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, you sat at the bar. I'm like, gonna have a Guinness? Fucking down in like 5 minutes, dude. It was so fucking good. Like, I just, oh my God, bro. I was like, oh, please. Fucking, one more, please.
Right.
And comes over, fucking fills it, comes back. I'm just like, threw down. And I look at Zach, and I'm like, all right. We're going to go and do this. And I remember it didn't hit me till like way fucking after. Like, I didn't feel drunk until we got basically into the car. Like, for some reason, because I was just standing there motionless, like just off top of my head, just talking about what we're planning to do for the festival. Just, rifling about the type of bands, all the different genres that I wanted to do. It's for charity, blah, 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 blah. This, the dates, like, this is what I'm thinking.
Right.
This the cost, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, the idea was to merge it with another thing that was a car show. So that ended up getting brought in to the whole conversation, which in my opinion kind of muddled it because as a whole, the festival was fine.
Right.
But when I brought it up, the guy was like, hey, there's something also that's happening that same weekend. And if you want, we can bring that up into the proposal.
Right.
Instead of just coming out of the gate without bringing that up to the board,
Mm-hmm.
everybody as a whole, because that's what everybody's going to think of.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's the metal festival / pop punk, hardcore, death metal, and, and with a car show.
Right.
And, it's a great idea, if it's not their, annual thing.
Right.
That's, their staple. It's held by the Knights of Columbus.
Right.
That's their big money maker, you know?
Right.
And then I'm like, let's have a fucking festival. I want death metal bands. I want a prog deathcore band
I want
up
an
there.
alternative band.
Dude,
I want...
Yeah.
Give me everybody.
And so, after a while, I think about 3 weeks after that meeting, the meeting itself went really good. There was a couple of people that were just outright sticklers.
Mm-hmm.
They were just like, I don't really want to do this because it's just not, I don't like metal, or I don't
Right.
like, they were just more traditional old folk, I would
Mm-hmm.
say. And, I could tell right off the jump during the meeting, I knew exactly who was potentially gonna, come to my side, who potentially was gonna stick with those guys.
Right.
It was very, very easy to tell. But when they denied the whole thing, I was like, okay, well, what is the main issue? I can finance it myself. I can get the bands here. All right, I can make the whole thing happen from stage, sound, lights, everything.
Right.
I need a fucking venue in Springfield.
So that's that, and you run into the problem with, wanting to do whatever with whatever. So I leaned back into my roots, and I called the pavilion, and I'm like, hey, what's up? Can I book it for this date? And they're like, yes, it's available. And I'm like, perfect. I'm booking a show. I'm like, can you tell me if the risers are still there? It's been fucking 15 years since I booked a show there,
Oh.
But, like I said, you have to book your sound guy and your light guy if it's separate.
Yep.
If he does a combo deal, that's cool, But also on the picky end of things, because I'm not trying to say that nobody holds a candle, or I just want the best for everybody. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be the best. I just want to be a part of the best. This you can, in this, you started off here and then you're on to bigger and better things. You know what I mean? Or this becomes a big thing, and then I can have you on and it helps sell, have you back on to promote you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Either way it goes, you know what I mean? Someone had a beautiful starting point. And it would just now it's either part of the old document footage or, it's part of the archives, man. So
Hell yeah,
it's
dude.
cool. My first season was in there, and it was at a night, a little round table that, I had, and it was just an idea between friends at first, and just bullshit, playing some, Friends with Benefits for Friends with Humanity and type of shit games,
Fuck yeah, dude.
just chilling, having fun, an hour, 2 hours long. Just there's a main kind of idea to it,
Then you just started interviewing bands.
Yeah, my co-host at the time, Chris Haley, who's also my neighbor, just right over here. It was just a scheduling conflict. He can only record on Tuesday nights, and then it's I do certain things on Tuesday nights, or randomly have my kid, or whatever's, And then Sundays just ended up working. Yeah, so and then it just kind of weeded its way out, and he just couldn't help be a part of it, which is fine, But our idea was, he's like, maybe we should lean this, towards bands, because we're already 4 or 5 episodes in, and we're like, hey man, what do we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're like, well, let's think about who we are. And we're like, we're music. Let's just gear it towards music with the So Fucking Awesome show. So it got its theme, 80s metal, retro, yada yada yada. We started talking about it, and I'm like, I went to Fiverr, to hire a dude, and we collabed on that intro that you hear now, collabed with another guy on Fiverr on the So Fucking Awesome show logo. couple variations of it. We landed on that one, you know. So Fiverr's been my go-to to collab with those guys. And not to say I can't deal local. I've dealt local, and it's just like these people that I find on Fiverr are just like amazing for the face value that they are. You know, like I would have gotten charged $250, if not $300 for that logo, and a dude from fucking Dubai charged me $50 with 5 revisions.
No fucking way.
Yeah. It's amazing.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah, no, but I did get quoted for like some outrageous stuff too. Not with the logo, but like with the intro video, it was like 30 seconds, and they like charged me like $100 a second, and I was like, I get it, but I don't, dude. Like, fuck, man. $3,000 for 30 seconds?
Oh, my God.
I'll pass. I'll make my own.
Wow.
So I did. You know, I just like did things like cool little retro interloop with pictures of the people that had, you know, scenes of people. But I do it all on my own, man.
Dude.
I do it all on my own in my free time. I do play video games and shit. I do have time to do things and be a dad, you know. Just in my time to do things, I'm very productive.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I just did a podcast yesterday for like 3.5 hours, I had so much fun doing that I sat here, continued last night until midnight. Like, I got done. I sat up from here about 12:02, and I was like, oh, better go to bed. I had it exported. I had it finished. I had that teaser that I showed you about everybody laughing at, hey, yo.
Yeah.
Teaser was made. Episode was finished, cut, scanned through, you know. Like, because the majority of it runs itself. You know, you're like, all right, you know, see what goes on, and you're scanning through, and you watch, like, you can skip the songs, you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't have to watch that for 3.5 minutes, you know, so I can just skip to the next part, see what we were talking about, see if it ties into.
Yeah.
But usually just, you know, it runs itself up to certain parts unless you want to make clips or do whatever. But
Fuck yeah.
if you're driven to do it, man, you know, I've done 4 episodes this week, like edited and then shot 2 or 3. Yeah.
Shit.
There's some days, man, I'm like, damn, I was like 9 hours. Like 2 Sundays ago, it was just like 9 hours.
That's a long time recording.
Yeah,
bro.
and then I try not to rush things. I have it scheduled out, and I'm like, I'm not, but it's also when everybody gets to fit in, so there's one show a week. So if you're the first band on that Sunday, you're obviously the first episode's going to air sooner. Second band's going to be the week after them. Third band's going to be the week after the second band, you know? So it's like kind of like a month's worth of content in just one Sunday.
Fair.
Yeah, because I think one of our questions was, how do we do content, right?
Yeah.
So we'll just segue into that. So, I mean, I try to do TikToks. It's not like TikToks of every episode or shorts or reels of every episode. Not every episode is just like worthy of just like, oh my God, fascinating things, because we're not like a Joe Rogan, just like hit you with facts type of thing. It's just more or less for, my goal is just for the people that care. Like, could be your mom, could be your dad, could be your sister, could be anybody who gives a fuck that just wants to watch you be you. That's it.
True.
You know, I have a drum channel, you know, content. That started just because I wanted to give my daughter something to look back on just in case anything ever happened. Just in case. She could just go on YouTube and it's there for everybody. You know? That's it. She can see her dad play drums. She can see her dad talk. She can see her dad be goofy. You know, we made vlogs. I have a channel where it's just like me and her. You know, there's another channel that's just like, you know, it's me and her, like little random vlogs, you know, like going on vacations and shit.
So she's also getting into
content. She comes down. She came down here yesterday. The guys brought her, not this shirt, but I'll give her this shirt. But she's a small.
Yeah.
She's a small, you know, so they bring her small shirts and bracelets and stuff. So
starting young, brother.
Yeah, she came
Get
down
him into
here
metal.
because she sees me
happier the
editing
better.
music videos. So you know, the music video that I was editing for Darker Than Fiction, she gets to sit there and watch, and she's like, "Who's this?" And then they have a really catchy song, and I really like it.
Sick.
And so they're metal, and she's my little metalhead and pop punk princess, you know, I call her. But and then so that band was just over here last night. You know, she see me editing all week, and she comes down here, and she's like, "Are these the guys?" I'm like, "Yep." She's like, "Hey." I'm like, "Hey," and they're like, "Hey," you know. And she goes up there, so she's gonna be around
sick.
music and bands for her whole life. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
hopefully, I can still carry that. It's driven through her, dude. So
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So you drum and you're in bands.
Well, so I can't like officially say like who I'm a part of, but I've had guitarists send me tracks from St. Louis from established bands that you've heard of.
Mm.
There's like, hey, see what you come up with this guitar riff,
So you're a session drummer.
Yeah, and or if they're looking for someone to be a part of their band, so it's like, hey, I'm looking to get something together. I'm going to send you this track. So I assume it's just on their end, just like if I were to come up with just like drum beats and I'm like, I just send them to a guitar player, you know what I mean? I'm like, I got you, Tom, Dick, and Harry. I send it to 4 of you secretly. Hey, just tell me what you come up with.
Fucking
And then
sick,
pick the best
dude.
4, So
That's really
I
tight.
can only assume that's what they're doing on their end. They send me a guitar track. I can only assume that they send it to 3 other drummers.
Modern
And that they
technology is
would,
beautiful.
pick the best, So it's just cool to have options open. I'm a part of, 3 people projects, I guess you'd say. But I just, like, whether or not it goes anywhere is beyond me,
Yeah.
So.
Man, sometimes you just got to work on things for a while until you figure it out.
Really dial them
You
in. So it's just whatever sticks, and it's fine because I have time. I can sit here and record my tracks, or they send me a guitar track, like I said, and I just go right in there in my studio and then lay some drums down, send it back to them. They're like, cool, maybe add this. Cool. I'll re-record it, send it back.
So what have been some of your favorite moments about your podcasting or during your podcasting?
Man. Bro, right out the fucking get. Dude, I want to say it was season 1, but I'm glad you asked this question because I had an answer that a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So I'm not afraid to ask, like anything, whether that be a question or ask a band, hey, I see you're coming to town, or St. Louis. I'm like, hey, I have a podcast. What would it take to give me 5 to 15 minutes of your time just to do a little interview for my podcast? So it would mean the world to me. And it's true because I'm a big fan, of the bands that I'm going to ask. So Summoning the Lich was like the first band that I asked, and I was like, hey guys, I seen they're St. Louis and I'm Central Illinois, but I'm trying to show everybody love, So I know a lot of St. Louis good bands like Abadonia, This Is Me Breathing, Indigo Ryan.
You fuck with Fever Dream?
Yeah. There's a lot of good bands, and then there's a lot of like regional bands that make it around too, like Sleep Signals is a good like up-and-coming national act that's self-independent that I just went to their show.
Them. Yeah.
Well, so I didn't book them. I booked them for an interview.
I booked them.
Oh, you booked them?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Blue Grouch? Hey,
yeah,
nice. So I guess I should say thank you to that because that led me to an interview with them from that show.
That's sick, dude.
So thank you.
Hell yeah, brother.
So I was like, hey, oh, this would be cool. And I bought their VIP, and I was just like, that's cool.
Awesome.
And they're like, hey, your photo ops after the show. I was like, oh, cool, dope, all right. And so I was like,
They're
hey, you guys
really
ever
nice
coming back
dudes,
around?
man.
They're like, oh, we could. And I was like, well, here's my podcast. I'm like, if you're down,
Yeah,
I'll
those
treat
guys
you
are really
to
cool dudes.
dinner and an interview. And they're like, bet. And they actually
Fuck
plan a show again, in Springfield.
Yeah, they're gonna be coming back soon. Yeah,
August 24th.
yeah, that'll be a good time.
So thank you for that. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man, fuck yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's part of what we do, as a booking agency. The Midwest Booking Collective. We've been around for, I'd say probably about a year and a half, but I've been doing this for about 3 or 4 years or so.
Right.
And man, it's been around a scene of just hardcore and just a lot of clicks and stuff. So branching out of Springfield was something that needed to happen.
Right.
And it's been one of the best things ever.
Right.
We picked up so many different tours and we put out so many different tours, and the amount of networking that we've done, the amount of time I've been running has been honestly just like has been a lot, like to the point where I've just had to like put a stop on everything. Like I'm just like I can't physically engage all of these because I don't have venues available to do all of it.
I try to put out a drum video a week, dude. And there's some days where, like, life happens. I'll sit down here for 4 hours of practice and then not shoot a drum video just because I don't feel like it. I've been amped the whole time to shoot a drum video, and then when it comes time to shoot a drum video, I'm like, yeah, I'll go to bed. I'll just go upstairs and go to bed. I'm like, never mind. You know, like, I don't know. It just, like, it's like life, dude. I'm like, I try and I don't, you know, it's whatever. Like I said, it all started with my daughter, and so it's not like my main priority. The podcast is doing well, so I try to just keep that dude just cruising.
Hell yeah, man. So one of the so I've got a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And so what have been, aside from summoning the Lich,
Oh, yeah.
some of the other favorite ones that you like?
Oh man, dude. Like, it was just I felt like, I don't know, every episode has its own. When I did Leo's, like, the owner of, like, my main sponsor, the video did really well, you know, but it had a rich, genuine story. It was a nice person to really get to know, and it ties to the community, you know, and it got me to, you know, tie with community really well. And it just led to, you know, that episode led to everybody else was like, well, I want to be on your episode. I'm like, well, here's the deal. You know what I mean? So I'll give you first dibs to be, if you want to be part of this show.
Do you think that's something you'll continue doing aside from music
So
interviews?
I say that because it's for the homegrown aspect. That's why I'm like booking National X here. So I'm like, I feel like every show had its moment. It was, whether it was personal or for a viewer or like business and pleasure, you know, everyone has their own thing. Cause like, and then you're a band that gets on here, and I'm like, hey, you know, you obviously got like first dibs to be in line. I'm not saying it's like worth waiting in line for. I'm just saying that, like, hey, let's do a show together. You know, like, I'll book some shows.
Yeah.
Because one tip I can tell anybody is, what, I don't know if you do this, but any of your favorite bands, or all the bands that you ever see, the flyers that come across your Facebook, just save those to a folder. Now, why? Because that's the venues that are metal friendly or genre friendly of whatever music you're trying to fucking book. You know what I'm saying here?
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Yeah. Any
Absolutely.
Any of them. But no, it's just, yeah, every moment, you know, like this one right here, this episode, it's like our first collab, dude. It's exciting, you know.
Oh,
it
yeah,
really, you know, it's, you know, first show on camera, you know, my first show leading in to tell your viewers, talk to me, and how they listen to me, you know, the feedback that get on that. Like, just every episode has its favorite moments and lead tos. And, you know.
I mean, every conversation is definitely very special, and there's a lot that you can pull away from every conversation. Even some conversations may be more down tempo or more up tempo. Some conversations may be a little bit more, you know, jumpy. They may, you know, change topic very quickly. And, you know,
that's my ADHD, man. I'm sure I mumble and jump random points, and you bring me back, and I mean, thank you.
Everybody does. Like, there's, you know, that's really the beauty about the human mind, is that we all have our different things that we're trying to bring into the conversation. And to really, you know, that beauty of life is working together to have that. And, you know, some folks can say it very eloquently. Some folks cannot. Some folks can not say it at all. So that's just life.
Yeah.
It's fucking tight. You know, it's really great, man. I just want to let everybody know to check out the Sofa King Awesome Show.
And vice versa, check out the Chug Life Podcast.
Thank you, sir.
He's not a visual yet.
This is the first time that you would have seen a episode on the Chug Life Podcast. We have never done. I mean, obviously, like, I'm sure you know, you're going down the list right now, and you're like, what the fuck?
Who the
never
fuck
done
is
this
this
shit. Yeah, it's the first, and I'm gonna tell you, do not expect anything more. All right, this is it. Okay, just understand that, unless we come back this, I mean, granted, we got 50, we got 45 episodes to go.
Nice.
It's very likely that we will come back. Who knows? Maybe you get another one. All right? Don't get fucking greedy, you asshole. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
I love you, but just...
So that's where I don't be greedy. I want to make, I try to make every band special and, like, stand out. The bands that come from far away obviously get better treatment because they're driving minimum 3 hours, round trip, just to come fucking hang out and shoot on a podcast. So the least I can do is fucking make it memorable. You know what I mean? So one of my mini sponsors, you know what I mean? Ahead of time, it's like Nardwar shit, like I find out something about you, or something, or try to. Maybe I just want to get more time to do things like that. Like if I know, like, you guys are big barbecue people, then, like,
what the fuck? That's
then I have a barbecue sponsor that I could bring. There's a million things, like, so my peanut butter and jelly company. So, I think we talked about it on the podcast, but I would like to get, do a darker than fiction, like, branded PB&J. So, like, a darker than berry, and have, like, a dark berry jam, and then, like a creamy or nutty peanut butter version, like a dark roast,
a
darker than roast. So you can do a million things. Dude.
That fucking rocks. And so, closing up, Brooke.
Right on.
What are some things that you would like to tell folks, advice-wise, about having multiple hobbies and functioning? Because there are a lot of folks that would tell you should slow down, blah, 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 blah.
Actually, no one ever tells them to slow down. They're always like, you have so much going on.
When I first, started actually getting into bass, dude, you got to slow down, man. There's so many people, they burn out, man. And I'm just like...
Fuck that. I've been 100 my whole life, dude. And rightfully so.
Get away,
right. But I can just raise awareness. If you have ADHD, I'm not like this isn't an ADHD talk. This is just coming from someone who has ADHD, and, like, I only really was brought to my eyes in the past, like, 5 years. I mean, I've had ADHD my whole life, right?
Wow.
But the past 5 years, TikTok had, like, I went through ADHD TikTok, and I was like, bro, I have all of these things. And I was like, oh, that's what that means? And I'm like, oh, shit. And I look around, and I'm like, bro, like, I got all these hobbies. Like, bringing up to light. I'm like, I know it's ADHD. I know it is. Deep down. I'm like, yeah, that's ADHD. I wasn't dumb to it. It was just like, bro, like, interjecting into your conversation, and I'm like, I relate to you. So the reason why I do that so much is because I'm just showing that I relate to you. My emotions are that I relate to you. I don't know. Some things, trying to focus on things. So one of my main things is not drifting off into a million conversations. I try to revert and grab back and try to remember where we're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just
try to remain focused. Some hobbies are going to get more love than others. If there's one thing you can do, which I struggle with, but because I'm the type of person that can't even hold your Christmas present, bro. I'll give it to you in July. If I got you your Christmas present, I'm like, bro, I got it. You want it? And you're like, no. And I'm like, come on. So I do that with music videos. I'll record 3, and then I'll be like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I'm like, bam. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, and that was supposed to be 3 weeks worth of content. You know what I mean?
Oh, my God.
So that's the bad thing.
Dude, you gotta schedule it and then just never open the fucking app again,
that's
bro. Like,
the hard thing.
That's what I've been doing, dude. Because I got the same way, bro. Like, I'd record. I'd tell myself, I'm like, yeah, I've got too much good content. Let's go. And then I'm like, all right, I blew it in a week, so
some are gonna get more love. But like I said, I work for myself. So, like, the peanut butter and jelly thing doesn't bring anything in, so let's not even count that. That's just a brand deal. That's just something I started because of ADHD. I was like, sure, why not? I'm not like a peanut butter fucking fanatic, dude. Not at all. Not at all. But after making my own peanut butter and making my own jelly and making my own bread, holy fuck, is it a world of change, dude?
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
Hell yeah, dude.
Amazing, dude. Yeah, I mean, Paul was here for the first taste, so it was like really like there was no salt in it. You know what I mean? Like we had it fresh, like right out the mixer, dude, warm, creamy, and it was like we were like it was good. It was just I've never had natural peanut butter like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, peanut butter's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's you know, I was allergic to it for a while, and then just grew out of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was one of the best things that ever happened in my life.
Yeah,
And,
I just probably try to say remain focused, man. Like I said, my 9 to 5 is the construction, so that's what I do every day. And then whether I'm working on something or a video, like I always have something to do when I come home. The last thing I'll do is play video games.
Mm.
You know what I mean? That's when I'm just like, look around and I'm like, all right, it's quiet. I ain't got nothing to do.
yeah.
I'm going to chillax a little bit. Call of Duty, GTA, whatever. And then sometimes I get a raw spur up my ass where I'm playing like on a Tuesday night. And I'm like, ooh, I'm going to stream on Tuesday nights. So I'll sit there and I'll like make a banner, you know, and I'm like, cool, I'm going to stream on Tuesday nights. Never touch it again. Facts, dude. There's ideas that I have out the ass that I've started that never see the light of day.
Wow.
So there's 100 songs in there that I started all the way, you know, chorus through, not like drums, but I mean like writing, synth, and fucking shit, you know, like bam, 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 soundtrack shit, you know, like, yeah, bro, let's go. It'll never see the light of day, ever.
Yeah.
You know?
So your advice would be to stick with it.
Try to.
Yeah.
Some shit hits, some shit doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, I'll come back eventually and, you know, fuck with those. You get in a mood.
So
You get in moods.
stick with it.
Stick
but
with your mains.
also
Stick with your mains.
Yeah, know when to shelf shit away.
Yeah, I think you'll subconsciously do that. You'll just be like, I don't feel like it. And then there'll be a random day where you're like, ooh, because you already have, my problem is I have everything to do everything. I can't not just sit here. If I sit here and get bored, that's on my fucking self.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I go in there, write a song. I could sit here and make a video. I could make a flyer. I could do anything for any number of companies that I have, promotion, booking, scheduling, content. That's it. Put out a flyer for my main company.
Yeah.
You know? It's whatever. I just...
Wow.
Well, the only thing I can really think that is I don't drink. So I don't party anymore. I was a huge partier before I had my daughter. So I probably quit drinking when she was like roughly 6 to 8 months old. So it's been 7 years, almost 8 years.
Nice.
And it's not like I had a problem. She was born and I just stopped drinking, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I was a huge partier. I threw parties. I threw shows. I threw parties. I was a big, like, expressive person. I didn't know it was ADHD. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that alcohol and shit was masking a lot of things, you know, like giving me the dopamine or the serotonin that I needed, but it was like masking it in a way that wasn't productive.
Wow.
So that's why I was like really brought to my eyes earlier to reflect back when I'm like the last 5 years have been really eye-opening.
Yeah.
The first 2 were like understanding. You get what I mean? Like not
Yeah,
ADHD,
like getting
just
your
like
footing, kind of.
yeah, in life, like all right, I'm
Yeah.
a new dad. I don't drink anymore. I don't fucking party. I don't fucking hang out with this person. I don't hang out with that person. And obviously, the past 5 years of my life, you know, when people come here and say, you know, hey, it's a nice thing. Well, I came from like, I'm not saying nothing, but it was just like your first day of school is an outfit that you got from Goodwill. You know what I mean? Type of shit.
Yeah.
So it's whatever. So I just know now, I'm like, I don't care if I own Nike shoes and they're uncomfortable. For me, sub down, it's a trauma thing. That's what they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Is that you wanted that shit as a kid. So I have all these cool things and all these collectibles because I don't have them anymore. You know, there was an incident that went down and I got all my shit just doesn't exist anymore from my childhood. So I don't know. It's a lot of personal kid shit, I guess.
Well, Brooke, anything that you want to tell the listeners on the Chug Life podcast?
Man, I don't ever want to hear the phrase I don't have time. You know what I mean? If you legit don't have time, I get it. But I can do a million things in this house alone. And I want my daughter to see that. You know,
you would
just lead
also
by
say
lead by example.
technology helps, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Lead
Use
by
technology
example.
to your ability.
Well, I mean, there's drums, there's acoustic guitars, there's easels, there's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's real shit to make real music. But I mean, just lead by example. Make sure that what you're saying is true by your own actions. That's said by me. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I mean, that's a beautiful fucking way to top this thing off, I mean, you have gotten probably, I'm not sure, but I'd imagine probably like an hour and 15, which may end up being the longest episode. I don't know. He's got a lot of shit to edit out. I'm sorry. Mine
It'd
usually
probably be about
aren't
45
edited.
an hour.
Yeah, that's
They're
and
easy.
that's
They're super
standard.
easy, bro. Yeah.
But yeah, mine usually aren't edited. But I usually don't drink this much.
Right.
So
you just
I'd
learn,
probably
man.
drink like a 2 liter at the end.
Well, I started doing. I don't know how long you want to go. Like we could go. It's easy to get into
dude,
2-3 hours.
Yeah, you can 100% get into so much. Like
Yeah.
that's why like you come back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not too big a fan of having very long episodes because I want to bring them
I wasn't
back
either.
over and over. Yeah, but there, I guess sometimes it does just bleed out.
Or
and that's just how
once
it
you just
is.
break it into 2 parts, and then you have 2 weeks worth of content. You know, on how you do things, or break it up into 10 to 15 minute segments, or topic segments.
That is genius. Well,
You know, and
ladies
you're
and
like
gentlemen, I guess you
Right.
really just
Could
stick
be a
around.
2-part, could be a 3-part.
Yeah, just stick around and just like
Use
I
the
don't know,
voices
just
now,
like
part 1,
find
part 2,
out later.
part to be continued.
This is
Dot.
episode 3 of the Chug Life
What season?
Podcast, and we are live in Jacksonville, Illinois. It's kind of fucking crazy. Like, yo, we're not in Springfield, bitches.